Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'll hand over to whoever is in Google and G+, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show. You don't need any of that.
Gave me a list. The first thing was the Yeti mic. Now he needs a computer. He needs what do you call it? Not a laptop, the other one.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Has he got a phone?
Yeah, but he's for gaming.
Doesn't matter what it's for. It's a phone, right? It's got a camera on it. You can make YouTube videos. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need any of the stuff you've just listed.
But what about when he's playing the game? Doesn't he have to play the game?
He wants to be a gaming YouTuber.
He's 11.
So he wants to be a gaming YouTuber.
Right.
Well, then he needs to record some of his games that he actually plays. How does he play games now?
Well, he's got them. My other son had this. We got him for Christmas a few years ago, this gaming computer. So he's been using that. It's a laptop. But he wants, what do you call the other one?
So what he needs to do is record his epic moment that he thinks is amazing and publish it as a video. Not live stream immediately. Publish some of the videos that he can produce that are excellent already. And if he can't, then why not? He should be able to produce standalone material that will go out on a channel and get a couple of views initially, and that's how you start. You don't start with a Yeti and a streaming PC and that's not how it works. If he wants all that stuff, then PC. You know, he needs to raise $1,000 to do it, doesn't he? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Raise $1,000 or raise his hand to dad.
Well, just tell him if he wants a YouTube channel, he can have one. It's free. He's got a phone. If he needs to capture game footage, then screen cap, screen record. There's plenty of free software out there. One of his sessions that he thinks is amazing and publish that. That's all he needs to do. He doesn't need to do the advanced live streaming what he plays.
Until he's
got a
like
channel.
A trial run of these things, right?
Well, it's just something to set the channel up and get your first video on there. It's all well and good wanting to be a live streaming gamer. There's loads of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he don't talk much. I don't know what happened. I'm serious. I think it's this pandemic. It changed his whole personality, Nathan. I'm really, really starting to worry. He doesn't talk much anymore. You could tell him take the mask off. Nobody's got a mask on, and he still has his on. I mean, I try to think of what this has done to the kids, and he's only 11. Because I remember when I was a kid, I was scared to death to go to war because of Vietnam commercials and constant Vietnam stuff. So I'm trying to figure out what's going through his mind at 11.
It was about that sort of time I figured out it was all lies, maybe a little bit younger. But when they were putting all the war footage on the TV, I was like, this is all lies. I don't believe any of this. I stopped watching the news. I just thought this is all lies because they presented footage that I could discern as a kid was fake. They, because of the warning more than anything else, they put you on high alert, saying it's going to be graphic content, and then they didn't show it. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was fairly well versed with horror movies at that early age because I had an older brother, and I just had access to his horror movie collection, so I know what gore is. But you're prepared for it on the 6 o'clock news, and then it doesn't come, and you're like, well, I've paid really close attention to what you said I should be scared of, and there was nothing to be scared of, therefore I don't believe you anymore.
Yeah, I hear you. So your war was not Vietnam, though. That was what war was that when you were growing up?
I can't remember. I think it might have been Bosnia. I can't remember. I didn't pay close enough attention to remember what the war was, but I remember thinking, you've just told me there'll be graphic footage to follow this, and there wasn't.
But was there a threat of England having to go there?
It's not the point I'm making, but yeah, whatever.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just trying to see what the difference is. Okay, 11, yeah, I was coming out of it then, but I was here in Vietnam since I was 6 years old. So
Right.
You ain't saying it's fake at 6. You're scared shit. That I had this fear of dying. I was afraid my grandmother was going to die, and it was the whole thing. So I'm just trying to get in his mind. Because he used to be loud, boisterous. I mean, really loud. Now I can't get a word out of him.
Now he's about to turn into a teenager. Don't worry about it. Everything you tell him now, he will want to rebel against. So stop telling him stuff, Neil.
No, I'm not telling him anything. I just can't get a word out of him.
Resign yourself to that for the next 25 years.
He mumbles.
Now, just get through it when he goes through puberty, won't he? Once he's over that hurdle, hopefully you'll still have a relationship with him.
Puberty, that's another thing. Great.
Good morning.
Hello.
Go on, Ted.
Did you see that message that was left in Master B by Bev about cats? I didn't look at it yet, but I guess something's going to happen on the show. Do you know anything about it?
I did see the message.
I guess we'll find out.
Nathan's got to know something. He always knows the inside scoop.
No, I don't. I get the inside scoop from you guys. I haven't got a clue. I don't keep my ear to the ground at all.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like, what happened? Okay, tell me about it.
But what are they going to have a debate about? It's something that might be a debate. Where, who, what?
No, Bev said it's all coming out. I don't know what the reference is. I didn't look at it yet. I thought maybe one of you guys have.
Blame Bev for being cryptic. Bev's fault for being cryptic.
I don't look at anything when it's close to the show starting.
Well, someone's just mumbled something. Who was that?
No, that was me. I was saying, what's left of the debate?
Yeah, nice, good point.
Yeah, but Nathan's got a channel. We could, so we got to debate it. I'm still wondering why nobody's coming in here. There's like 50 people on Gem Panda. Why is nobody coming here to debunk us or to tell us how wrong we are?
Because they can't, and they've tried, and they get called out on their fallacies, and they don't get traction with the first lie, second lie, third lie routine that they take everywhere else.
Wait a second. You're saying they can't, right? So you're actually saying that they realize that Earth is not a spinning water ball, but they're going to stay in that belief.
That's not what he said.
No, Don, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
why
is,
wouldn't they be here?
Well, because you're only looking at it with an A and B option instead of a C and D and E and F. There's many options why they're not here. What have they claimed about the format of this show? Nathan's unfair. Nathan doesn't let them talk. Nathan cuts them off. Yeah, well, when you start with a fallacy, you're going to get cut off. So don't start with a fallacy. Well, they don't know any other way to start because their model is not real. So when they go to describe their model, they're immediately in the fallacy. So it's over.
You've got to ask yourself, Neil, what people get out of their visits here, or anywhere for that matter. And to me, it's akin to when I was taught in sales the what's in it for me. When you're approaching anything for anybody, you've got to find out from them what's in it for them, i.e., what's the bonus. So, what would be in it for them coming here? Well, when it first started, when the debate first started, pain relief. They get to berate flat earthers and tell them they're stupid and then present their whatever they're presenting. Well, they still get that from other platforms. They get to present their nonsense and feel a bit of pain relief. Here, they don't get that. Quite the contrary. They don't get any pain relief when they come here. They leave in pain. So, as an example, just because it's hot and topical, Miles the Liar Davies has expressly stated that he's been caused pain and distress as a direct result of arguing the toss about whatever he was arguing. I couldn't care less and don't remember. But for him, it was very painful and stressful, and he blames us for all that. Share your pain. That's why they don't come here, because it causes them pain rather than relieves it.
I got you.
John has shared many times, Father of a Stolen Child channel name, his process of coming and the pain and all that. So it cost him his job too.
Indeed.
We got to start doing that movie, The Isle of Dr. Moreau. Right? Monroe, is it Monroe or Moreau, where he says, "What is the law? House of pain."
Moreau.
Moreau.
What is the law? House of pain.
I think that's why the ridicule and vitriol is so high, because the internal or mental pain that they experience is so high. They need to project that out. So we suffer it. Now, for some, it's too much a pain to bear. For me, I'm pretty much impervious to it now. It's more of a duck's back. But, you know, that is just projection of their pain outwards. I've heard it expressed by many of them on many occasions. And it's always the same story. So they're expressing their pain. They are projecting their pain onto us. Now, I figured that out a couple of years ago and started telling them so. Share your pain has come from that.
Then you... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, but then you have people coming in, and they are ballers. I didn't know until I was told that this Nap, whatever her name was, is a baller, and she's been on Gems, and she's been on a few other channels. To come on and say that you made up begging the question, I mean, it's just showing sheer stupidity or ignorance.
I want to highlight just one person. All of society has been dumbed down on many areas. I mean, I talk to people out when I do get out. Obviously, I stay on property law, but when I do get out, I talk to people, and it's just on various subjects. And man, it's just the brain matter that used to be there when I was growing up it's just not there. I mean, people are just so dumbed down today. So I wouldn't highlight so much that, because it's really evidence-based show that we have, and they can't even muster up the evidence. All they got to do is come here on the show and show the evidence. I mean, you want to kill Nathan Oakley? Show. You want to kill Flat Earth? Show the evidence against it. That's all.
Well, I'd describe it slightly differently. I'd describe it as a full sense of security. So the show ebbs and flows between high-level fundies and very low-level fundies. So if the high-level fundies don't come, you have the low-level fundies like that girl and the guy yesterday who will come in and basically think that we're idiots because there's nobody else here telling us otherwise, and they get to hear a couple of shows where we're talking about RoboCop, and then they go, God, these guys are idiots. And then they come in and say, yeah, scientific evidence discoveries, drop a coin. And get ripped a new asshole in front of a live audience. Now that will trigger high-level fundies to come in to stop that happening. That ebb and flow has been the same for about 12 months, 18 months. That's how it goes.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, yeah, you could come on and say that you guys make stuff up. But after you do a quick Google search and realize that, oh boy, It is a something. Shouldn't you have a different attitude?
Why are you projecting common sense on these people? What they would do if they were you? What they would do if they were you?
I just told you, what's in it for them is what you've got to ask yourself. And what is she trying to achieve? She wants to, and has told us directly, that she wants to laugh at us. While she was being humiliated, she told us, with her nervous laughter, that she was laughing in our faces, or my face specifically. So that's what she wants. Now, the effect of pain relief while she's telling us that she's laughing at us might temporarily work. She might literally delude herself into belief that she's laughing at us after being monumentally stupid. But that won't last more than a few seconds. So, after that, there's no pain relief, there's just annoyance at us.
Well, that's the last time that guy's going to come here and nickel and dime us, that's for sure.
You know, I missed that whole thing yesterday. I was distracted doing something else. So I missed that. So I can't wait for later on today to listen to that. I missed that guy.
You didn't miss much. He didn't have the correct change. No, it's still.
Is that out tonight, Nathan? Yesterday's show.
It's out on the second channel, but I've trimmed out that section for the main channel. It goes out just before. So if anybody who won't be, because this isn't going out live right now, but if there was anybody listening, which they aren't, maybe a member when this goes out will realise, but they'll have probably seen it anyway. But yeah, that goes out quarter to 9, sorry, UK time.
Hi guys, just while you were talking films, I watched a film at the weekend on this dumbing down. It's an old one, Idiocracy. A good giggle, worth a rewatch. Just talks about how the middle classes never have children. They're so busy chasing their career, and the future of humanity is basically dumb people having 15, 20 kids apiece. So it's a future society where basically it's a dystopian future of idiocy, but really good. The president of the United States is an ex-wrestler. It's hilarious, Nathan, but lots of good points in there, I think.
Lots of people
when retards rule.
Yeah, he's so fun. I'm baiting! Go away, I'm baiting!
There was lots of people who mentioned it in the comments under that lady's video, the one we're talking about in regards to her claiming that I made up the fallacy of begging the question. Well, lots of people mentioned Idiocracy underneath that video, the one that was trimmed out.
It's the first thing I thought of.
It was recommended by Mind Unveiled, by Moon on there at the weekend. I've put it on and watched it. It's just, yeah, never seen it before. It just did make me giggle.
I've never even heard of it or seen it. Is it
It's a movie.
It's an actual movie made like a studio.
Yeah, it's a comedy about if you imagine that everybody in the world was dumb.
Well, I don't have to imagine that.
Okay.
I can't help it.
Well, you're describing a world of Dunning-Kruger, which we actually inhabit, whereas this is below that standard. They don't even think that they're smart in Idiocracy.
What's the question that gets him to be the smartest man in the world? Is if I've got one bucket that holds 2 gallons and one bucket that holds 5 gallons, how many buckets have I got?
7.
Oh, that's great.
He answered it.
And Neil just answered it wrong.
Score that high.
I can imagine the answer pales in relationship to the question.
Boom, boom.
I don't know if I get a handle on that one.
By the way, another good one. By the way, I don't appreciate being laughed at because I was a little late on a spoke joke.
When those sorts of things happen, Neil, the best thing to do is never mention it again. Because
Listen, I laugh at myself. That's funny.
But highlighting that we shouldn't have is probably going to be the worst possible thing you can do in this scenario. Now, I'm not going to exploit it this time. But should you mention that something's got under your skin a little bit, just bear in mind that that sort of thing doesn't go over well with people who like to get under your skin.
I'm just having a laugh. I don't care.
Too late.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but don't bring it up because I don't want to hear it.
The spoke joke.
Nathan, I just set you up in there.
You think I really care
I would now labour how much you don't care about it to reiterate how little you care about it. That will really work well.
Literally a millisecond. I got in there. Don't tell me I didn't.
And where? I didn't hear you.
Told me.
No.
In other words,
You told me I only had a millisecond to get in, and I've been waiting, and you guys are like, it's impossible.
Go
But I
ahead.
just slipped in. So
Go ahead, Harp.
I just wanted to know, do you guys find the video of a Ring of Fire?
No, hell no. I keep checking the comments. No, nobody's giving us jack. However,
That's amazing.
on someone else's video, I can't remember, it might have been Mitchell from Australia. Simon Dan was in there saying, "Oh, this is going to be so good when I humiliate you over this." I was like, "Oh yeah, you and your reference frames have been ruined."
Yeah.
Did you look up the almanac and see what the almanac was saying?
Holy shit. Yeah, it's predicting. I said that yesterday. I was talking to Neil. I also told him I found a couple of videos.
What's the almanac
I gave
predicting?
out
Is it
playlist.
predicting?
He's saying it is
I gave out
predicted.
a playlist.
Hold on.
I gave out a playlist.
Hello,
but they're all too lazy to look through it.
hello.
Yeah.
You've missed his question and haven't answered it in specific detail that's quite critical, because we're trying to establish on the last show, if it matches the almanac in terms of what they put out there as a prediction, which is what I expected, then there could be potentially a model with the issue, whereas if it doesn't match, then there's a glaring problem. But as it stands, we've got both of them predicting the same thing, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Then I would stand by my previous statement from last week.
Just hold on a second, Harp. Do you want to repeat your statement from last week, Adam?
Yeah. I would. Last week when we were investigating it, I said, what does the almanac predict? If the almanac predicts a partial and a ring of fire in the northern latitudes, and the almanac says that, then I'd take that as read that that's what's happened. There just ain't a photo.
I concur. I would agree with that. Cloudy day. That's why my first reaction, Harp, was to say, you know, when they eventually do spring the ring of fire on you because someone happened to catch it through cloud cover, just for the sake of argument, what they will then do is say, haha, therefore a globe. In other words, they'll just completely affirming the consequent. So if Earth's a sphere with the heliocentric model, we'll see an eclipse as thus, we see the eclipse as thus, and here we've finally got it from that date, therefore Earth's the heliocentric model. So they'll just use it to affirm the consequent.
The rebuttal I'd use, though, is to say, well, you say that, obviously it's affirming the consequent, but what I would say is the model that predicted it is a flat Earth model. It wasn't a ball model that predicted it, it was the almanac, which is flat.
You keep talking. Did you hear me say that I found videos?
No.
Silence.
Oh, are you going to share them, or we got to moan at you and demand you share them?
I don't know. The only access I have is to this main chat.
Yeah, stick it in there, and then I'll put it in
I don't have that
Master B and the
VIP.
likes.
Okay, it's just while you're doing it, tell us what you've got so we can credit you and say thank you and all the rest of it.
Well, yesterday I was telling Neil that I have a video from the University of Cambridge.
Okay, they were.
I also have another one.
Hold on.
Not as good, but hold on.
The University of Cambridge, they weren't in the path of totality. Were they located somewhere else when they acquired it?
I believe they have 4 cameras altogether.
Where are their cameras? Because Cambridge is at about 50 degrees. Nowhere near. No, we're not far enough north.
They have a camera.
You're not listening to the question, Harp.
What the hell is going on, man?
No, we're trying to interact with you, but it's very difficult.
Have you got anything for us?
We was asking where the Cambridge University cameras were located. We assume not in Cambridge.
No, I've got one. 4 different places, I believe. Come on. There you go. Cambridge University Astronomy.
Thank you very much.
So it's approximately 1 minute. I'm sorry, 1 hour. Hold on. One hour and 7 minutes, looks like.
But shouldn't we find out
1 hour
where they were?
The one camera is supposedly in Canada. Nearly there now, isn't it? See how. So 1 hour, 5 minutes.
I'm just going to share that with the guys now, if you give me a sec.
You're putting it in Google.
Here's another thing that I said yesterday, that when I found this video, I noticed that the Ring of Fire lasted approximately 45 seconds. So I went over to the article that I had read to you before about the 39,000 feet up airplane, and I'm saying about the 30 minutes and 4.5 minutes of the Ring of Fire. They removed that part of the article, and they also removed the picture that I told you was from last year. So it seems that this is real, that what they're showing. Because if you see the reaction in the live chat, all of a sudden people are saying, oh, amazing, amazing, amazing.
Well, that's it then. That's proof positive.
Who is this character?
Yeah, I don't know. Here we go. I'm going to start in 30 seconds, so.
The annual solar eclipse will be visible from northern Canada, parts of Russia and Greenland. Come on, where's this from?
That does not look real.
That's from Canada.
Hopefully you'll establish that during the intro music.
It's real, because whether it's the real eclipse, it's definitely real.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Neil the Adam Meakin, Sleeping Warrior, Father of a Stolen Child, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Yo.
Good
Afternoon,
morning,
everyone.
good afternoon, wherever you may be. Shout out to Paul Connell immediately for hitting the super chat. Straight out of the gate. Any evidence of a good RoboCop sequel? I mean, physical geometric sphere, edge horizon formula.
No.
No.
Robocop
Only in the math.
is the edge of a sphere.
Only in the maths.
Can't be measured, only calculated. Right, let's go to distance to the sun. Any evidence thereof?
Well, they say it's 93 million
None.
miles away, so obviously they have a distance, Nathan. What's wrong with you? Didn't you go to school?
You need half of that. Let's stick with the sun for a second.
No proof of the distance.
So, do
No
you
proof
want
of
to
the
lead us in?
distance, but there is a ring of fire.
Well, that's what I was trying to lead you in with, Harp. Do you want to tell us about what's presented on screen now? So this is the Cambridge University bit that you sent us. If you want to tell us what's on screen. I know you can't see it as well.
I can see it if I just flip over. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, that is the ring of fire that nobody could find for me, that I finally found on my own. And I told people yesterday I had a playlist of 67 videos. Nobody was willing, I guess, to go through that because they're all lazy. So they were waiting for me to just show them, I guess. Yeah, it happened. There it is.
So that's the video?
Yes, the video on screen now, claimed to be live, although obviously not, was from July. What are we in? What, is it June? July? June 10th, 2021.
Another strange thing is that Mitchell from Australia is putting his he made a video, man, and he made it in a way that was kind of stupid. So he's going to get crucified for what he did. You know, I didn't do that. We didn't do that. We were just egging him on to find it for us. And we're not saying your globe is wrecked, and we're not saying anything. We're just saying, where was it?
Yeah.
You guys didn't find it. I did.
So this is the only one in existence then so far that we've been presented with. Here's the Ring of Fire. Okay. Great. So
now there's another one.
Okay, where's
there's
the second one?
Another one.
So let's credit this one first. This is from let's credit this one.
Go ahead.
Let's correctly credit this particular one first. So this is from Cambridge, did you say?
That's from the University of Cambridge. I believe they had 4 cameras set up, and one of them was in northern Canada.
So they've got a Canada camera. Perfect.
So NASA couldn't do that, but Cambridge did so.
Okay. We'll go through what is required to assert this as globe proof afterwards, but you said there's a second one. Who's the second one from?
I'm going to have to look through the playlist. There's 67 videos. It's funny that just happens to be the 33rd video that I just showed. That one is the 33rd video. That's weird. But
the Masons.
If you post it in Discord again, I'll pull it up when you stick it there.
My waist size was 33 at one time.
Okay, so we asked for it, we got it. Wonderful. We'll see if we can get the other one up on screen, and then I'll go through.
No, I asked for it, and then I had to find it on my own. What do you mean we got it? I found it on my own. Nobody helped me.
Well done. Welcome to Flat Earth. If you want something doing, do it yourself.
Indeed.
Can I just ask, are we accepting the evidence that you found as credible and like verifiable evidence of the claim?
That's what I'm wondering.
I'm wondering the same thing.
We'll go
That's
through
why
that.
I said.
We'll go through that when everyone's got out what they want to say about the eclipse, Anthony.
The thing is, their ring of fire was 45 seconds. The claimed ring of fire from the airplane was 4.5 minutes. So I don't know where they were as opposed to the airplane, but the airplane guy with that article took that part of the article completely out. The picture and the thing that said that they were in it 30 minutes and 4.5 minutes. They took that part of the article out. So it still is kind of fishy in my mind, but I don't know.
Okay, I just saw Adam scroll through the second video and I didn't see a full eclipse in it, but there we go.
Why is it fishy? I could certainly see it.
There's nothing fishy
It's
about
not the
it.
second video yet. It's still the first one. I've only
Oh,
got
okay.
the one
Sorry.
link. It's just, I think, a few different cameras, but this is the others don't appear to be showing totality at all. This one, as it transition, look, if you look at the bottom. Can I press play or?
Sure, but only one of the cameras is in Canada, so only one
It's
would get the
just that one.
totality.
You watch it come through. Look. Bring it back. I'll bring it back to there. Look, you can watch it transition.
Okay. Did you want to add anything else, Harp?
Trying to find that other one.
Oh, okay. Just give us a heads up when you found it. In the meantime, Anthony, do you want to re-ask your question?
So, based on the information that we've obtained, that we found by looking for it ourselves, do we accept the evidence in terms of its credibility and its verification of the claim that was made?
What claim's been made, do you think?
It was supposed to be an annular eclipse of the moon passing between the Earth and the Sun. When it's an annular eclipse, it's because it's either at perigee or apogee, whichever one it is. So it appears a little bit smaller. So the ring of fire is explained in a very small corridor, and it was passing over Canada, somewhere in Northern America, somewhere. And if you're in that area, you get to see the ring of fire. Now that to me, I don't know whether that's credible or not, but that to me looks animated. It looks like it's computer generated. It doesn't look real.
Okay,
I'm just wondering what everybody else thought about it.
You're focusing on the part of the affirming the consequent, which is the evidence being presented. How does this link to the claim? Well, you made the claim in the first breath that the claim is that we've got an orbital mechanical motion that's causing this effect, correct?
Yeah.
How does it affirm that claim? Oh, God. How did it... Anthony, how does it affirm that claim precisely?
If Moon passes with a ring of fire with respect to the eclipse, then Earth in a heliocentric model. If Moon does pass the way we perceive it, therefore we must be heliocentric.
Okay, so you start with you begging the question fallacy of orbital mechanics, and then tie that to a predicted event, and then say because of the predicted event, orbital mechanics, correct?
Yeah.
So this is called affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If P, that would be heliocentric orbital mechanics, then eclipse. That's Q. Q, eclipse, therefore orbital mechanics. So it's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. It doesn't affirm the begging the question fallacy of orbital mechanics. It affirms the consequent by using an event to confirm the begging the question fallacy in the P statement. 10th. Can you pop yourself on mute?
Oh, I'm sorry.
See, that's what I mean. You guys made that up, affirming the consequence formal logical fallacy. That's not real.
I'd like to make a comment if Adam could put the picture back up. Okay.
Good.
Remember a week and a half ago, we talked about the moon, and you can't see it for 2 or 3 days in its circuit. And here it's blocking the sun, and they know where it is from the calculation, like that one guy called in. Well, we know where it is. I said, great, then it should be blocking the stars. So here they got what they say is the moon blocking the sunlight. And yet they can't show it to us when it's not visible like this in the sky, when it's just this black silhouette. It should be blocking the stars. So since they've mapped all the stars, all you got to do is go to their calculation of where they say it is from their model. And a circle of dark nature like this should be blocking all the stars from behind it, but it's not, because they can never see it. So something's wrong with this, or their model. Because obviously it's blocking the sunlight. So if it's blocking the sunlight, it's also got to be blocking the stars behind it. So they should know where the moon is all the time, but they don't.
Not if they're trying to work at the really is level.
Good morning.
Shout out a couple of super chats. So shout out to Godzilla37, which is a second super chat, and then immediately after, second super chat from Retro Bill. Third one wins a brand new Buick. You were the third one, Retro Bill, just by coincidence. But thank you very much indeed, both of you, for the super chats, Retro Bill and Godzilla37. Thank you very much.
Can you stop trolling on the super chats, please?
Stop interrupting with super chats.
Or trolling. Morning, chocolate.
Yeah, I suppose that is trolling. There will be no new Buick.
I agree with Anthony. It looks like it's fake to me. I don't see how that looks real.
Why? Who cares if it is or isn't fake? It's used to affirm the consequent.
I've stood in the path of totality before. It looks real to me.
Looks real, but if it was predicted in the almanac, I've seen an eclipse before myself with my own eyes. They happen. So what? Doesn't prove a sphere unless you affirm the consequent and beg the question of orbital mechanics.
And there's Saros, so it's admitted that they use that. NASA admits that. And there's also a calculator that you can get. I believe it's from 2500 BC, 3500 AD, eclipses. I haven't got it yet. I was having problems downloading it. But yeah, it looks real to me. I've seen not a full eclipse, not a total eclipse, but I've seen an eclipse and I filmed it. And it's really weird when you do it amateur style, because when you do it amateur style, you don't have that perfect circle all the time. All I did was I filmed it through a pair of sunglasses. It was crazy. It was crazy looking. I'll have to make a video. But yeah, I believe it's real. Doesn't make the earth
The
blue.
best one for me,
I
the
just
best
told you
one for
why.
me was I'm sorry, Tom, if you wanted to say something, go ahead.
Well, we've talked about, and I think Adam brought it up before, back to the time of the Babylonians. They've been predicting eclipses. And as Nathan said, they're going to use it to affirm the consequent. So the whole thing is, all this is happening over a flat plane because they got no R, and they're saying, oh, it's happening over a curved Earth. Well, they can't even tell us what straight and level is because they think that's curved. So there's all kinds of problems if you're going to use this to prove a curved Earth, because you still got no R, and this has been happening since the time of the Babylonians. So what are they actually proving?
But what is it? What is causing this?
Good question.
That's not what we're talking about right now.
That's the point. It was summed up by Anthony in his question. So the cause is orbital mechanics in the heliocentric model. That's the cause, according to them. Now, it's an affirmative consequent form of logical fallacy that assumes these bodies are obscuring one another, occulting one another, however you want to phrase it. But that is their assumption. It's not a validated causal effect relationship in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that can't be the moon, though, because then we'd be able to see that with stars blocked out when we don't see the moon. And they can't show us that.
So that's what I was gonna say. Like one of the best things I saw was what's his name? Crow. I think it's Crow 777, something like that. And he has this ill camera set up, and he was trying to film this the eclipse. I think it was the one of 2017, maybe. And like he had clear shots of the eclipse, and he was trying to find the moon before and afterwards, and he couldn't. It was, I mean, he had all types of sophisticated equipment, infrared, all of that, and he just could not find this supposedly physical object that supposedly is going to block out this light in the sky, and you couldn't see it anywhere. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you be able to, if this is a physical object about to obscure another one, right? So to me, it's just crazy that this thing is not seen anywhere before, during, or after. But supposedly we see this darkness and we think that's the moon. It's just crazy.
Yeah, those sorts of problems occur when you make those sorts of assumptions and then validate it by way of an affirming the consequent fallacy, as opposed to validating that any of these things have any physicality to them whatsoever. Well, if they validated it with lies, the moon landing is claimed to be the validation that it's a rock in the sky. Now, I don't know if that's true. It might be. but they certainly haven't validated it by way of the moon landings because they claim to travel through a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum.
It could be that the sun is a projection, right?
Could be 101
and then
different
God's
things.
Putting his hand over the projection screen.
Could be. Any evidence that we can have gas pressure without a container?
That's a negative.
My Coke can says differently.
See, that gas pressure is a negative, and that's the thing that stumps my children all the time, because they understand that and they can't get around that.
But tell them to go open a Coke.
Chocolate.
No, they don't.
Chocolate. If you were a science teacher, you'd surprise the students with a pop quiz.
I should have known that was coming.
No, but that's the question that they really understand, and they scratch their heads because they understand that.
So leave it at that.
In the meantime,
yeah, hope that maybe someday they can build that bridge and connect those dots. You know, because if they understand why a Coke can is sold completely vacuum sealed, and that when you open it, it's always going to go flat, well, then you understand at its basic level what the second law of thermodynamics is. So why would you not be able to apply that to your reality? Oh, is it because you've been fed this other story that's taken over your mind? I mean, that's what it is.
Go on, Harp. What did you want to add?
I'm going to have to put this video in Mitchell's comment section. And you know he got this from here, right? Because he just mirrored one of Huey's numpty videos yesterday. So I know he got it from here. He should have relaxed and waited.
Float. Right. The way I saw Mitchell's video was akin to Anthony's advice, if he'd have had it from Anthony. What should I do with this information? I want to find out the eclipse. What shall I do? Make a claim, poke the bear. Say they haven't got it and can't get it, and see how quick you get it. So what?
Back to gas pressure out of container.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Hold on 1 second.
I'd take it on the. If I was Mitchell, I'd be taking it on the chin. If someone says, "Here it is," I go, "Okay." If you're watching Mitchell, just say, "Now affirm the consequent for me, bitch." If someone comments that.
Yeah, I don't know if you've gone in and seen how he's defending this. He's got his balls on the chopping block. Sorry.
Not if he understands that it's only ever going to be used to affirm the consequent and beg the question of orbits. So long as he knows that, he's fine. He's just poked the bear and got a result where he may not have got one if he hadn't. It's far easier, and I'll testify to this, because I'm lazy. One of the first videos I put out was satellites aren't real, they don't exist. That was one of my first videos. Why? Well, because it didn't make sense to me for whatever reason, so I just went with it and put it out there to see if I could be proven wrong. And people posted me links, which I clicked on and laughed. And I was like, thanks for doing the research for me, troll. You know, one of them was Slice Barcane. He used to provide all sorts of stuff. I think he eventually got smart to what I was doing and stopped doing it. But it's like, yeah, go out and do my research. I'll make an outrageous claim and you go and do the research. You know, just leave it like that. Why not?
Very good, Nathan. That's pretty good.
Well, you're gonna get stick for it. Not very good if you've got a thin skin and you don't like people going, "You idiot! Here's how you're wrong." But then you have a research into what they're saying makes you wrong, and you find out that it doesn't make you as wrong as you thought it might have done. So that's what I mean. So on surface level, if you're just thin-skinned, I remember discussing this with Fake Clouds in the Sky was the name of his YouTube channel. He also went as Fake Spaceman in Space and Soccer Count and various other names. But he was saying that when he first did exactly the same thing, he'd get those people trolls posting links to things that he'd claimed didn't exist, and he'd be quite nervous to click on them at first. But then he'd click on them and realise how nonsensical the stuff that they actually posted was. But at first, there was a bit of, oh dear, am I going to get proven wrong? In other words, nobody wants to be proven wrong, right? There's a certain pride element. We see it here from the other side most of the time. But this is what I'm describing is what I did when I first entered this arena. Anthony, to this day, still encourages people to do precisely that. Put it out as a claim, poke the bear. Far quicker.
Go, Adam, go.
Yeah, I was going to say. Just to come back to what the ballers would claim with their affirming the consequent, you can turn it around and use the same logic. I would suggest that if Rahu and Ketu exist, in this case, it's going to be Rahu because we've got eclipse of the sun, then the model will predict a ring of fire on June the 10th. We do see a ring of fire on June the 10th, therefore it's Rahu and Ketu that are responsible for these events.
Precisely, and it's just what they'd love. Much better to have two people arguing, both with an affirming the consequent, in false dichotomy. So it's either, if P, flat earth, Rahu and Ketu model, then Q, ring of fire. Q, ring of fire, therefore Rahu and Ketu on a flat earth. Now let's put that up against the false dichotomy of a heliocentric model and see who wins. No. A begging the question fallacy on both parts, an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy on both parts, and a false dichotomy when they're stacked up against each other. So triple your trouble fallacy when you do that, Adam.
I did
Adam, you forgot to say, prove me wrong at the end of that. That's what you got to say.
I didn't have my ball of a head on, to be fair. I was just pointing out that
It's all right.
as Nathan highlighted there, and that's why I started with another false dichotomy, would be to view it from that point. You could argue some of the intricacies of the two models, but again, you'd be arguing models, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So is it safe to say we don't know what causes this eclipse?
No, but there's a causal assertion made by the heliocentric model. And if it's a causal assertion, you can put it through the method of science. Oh, right. So the effect, ring of fire, is caused by moon getting in the way of the sun. That sounds very much like a cause and an effect relationship to me now, doesn't it?
But how are you going to science that?
Not my problem. I'm not making the claim.
So in 2017, when I filmed that, I was looking for the moon. There was no moon anywhere in sight. Before or after, there was absolutely no moon. I was looking, I was watching. I was even talking about it on the video I took. It's not the moon that causes it. And at one point, right, they're talking about these little Bailey's beads, right? When you're looking at it closely, watching it, like even do it in slow motion, and you see some weird shit going on, man. It's not the moon. And then they say, well, this is because the moon is so filled with mountains. It's got such a mountainous range. I'm like, what? Where do we see that? Where have we seen mountains except for the fake moon?
But we don't see it because of mountains. Are you having me on? Is that really an answer you've got?
These are called Bailey's beads when you're watching this thing come in. And it's all broken up, like it looks like it's very strange. Where you're trying to go, what is going on here? Well, they explain this away by saying that the moon is filled with mountains, and they call this Bailey's beads effect. Watch it.
Okay, I'll check it out. Another shout out to Godzilla37 who says, "Okay, let's do this. 51st super chat wins a Tesla. Go." Well, no, there won't be a Tesla, but if you super chat, you can think there's a Tesla. That's allowed. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's that?
You can think
First
of it
have
as a
to find
force.
out what it is.
So did you guys watch Quantum Eraser's latest upload about fossilized dinosaur bones that weren't dinosaur bones that were being passed off by Miles Davis's flesh that was fossilized? It's a bit like gravity in the sense that whatever fossilized claims that you're making, right? When you realize the thing that you're looking at reacts with the acid in such a way that shows that it's not old, it's new, it's modern, it's not old at all. Then what do you do with that information? Well, if it doesn't go with your paradigm, you're going to either make it fit your paradigm and lie, or you're going to say, hey, this proves that this is nowhere near as old as what it seems. So I'm going to dismiss my own perception of this bit of bone fragment, and I'm going to say that it isn't dinosaur bones at all. Same with gravity. If you believe that gravity is a force that can accelerate mass, and you look into it and you realize that it's simply an effect of something else that's being caused, and gravity is the effect by definition, and that doesn't match your it doesn't match your position, your perception, right? It doesn't match your bias, your cognitive bias. So what do you do with that information? Do you shoehorn it in and make it back into a force? Or do you accept that it's not a force at all, it's an effect, and that effect has got a defined cause, and it doesn't match my paradigm, but I'm going to have to change my position because gravity doesn't accelerate matter in physics today, in science today. Gravity is simply the perception, and I say perception with emphasis, the perception of acceleration in space-time of things in the sky. That is literally the definition. So don't be like Miles Davis and shoehorn it in. Actually accept the definition, because these words have got meaning.
Can you back off your mic a bit?
Could I?
You can, just 1 second. Can you back off your mic like 3 inches and turn your line down? You're just 10 times louder than everyone, Anthony. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I was going to say, talking about that little numpty clip, right? My favorite parts, there were 2 parts that were my favorite with that, right? Besides all the nonsense from Miles, the Liar Davis, and all the other clowns, right? My favorite parts were actually from the 60 Minutes interview when the lady was talking to Mary Schweitzer, and how when she's supposedly found this quote-unquote soft tissue, that she was nervous because it wasn't supposed to be what that was, but she was nervous to tell her boss, right? And so that's the first thing that I found funny. And then second was the reaction that the lady was like, oh shit, they got attacked. But I thought this was supposed to be science.
You missed a bit. That wasn't her first reaction. Her first reaction was to say, this can't be correct, retest it.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, she, after her retesting, and then she presented it to her boss, and then now, like, I think it was Leslie Stahl, said that they got attacked because of their findings. And it's like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be science. Why are y'all bringing feelings into it? Why are you attacking? Shouldn't you be happy to find new information? Like, what? It's crazy.
You're just
that makes me think,
kind of reacting in the way that a baller does, isn't she? We see too far.
Exactly.
Is her initial response?
Yep, exactly.
Hold on, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you do find information that doesn't support your narrative, and you're nervous about it, then you've got reason to be nervous, because if you're going to present it as new evidence, you're going to have to be right, because otherwise you're going to get attacked. And she did get attacked, but she seems to have just basically doubled down like ballers do, because she's been attacked from all quarters, it seems. But she seems to be representing it, and it's like, how's science going to deal with this? Are they just going to turn a blind eye, or are they going to keep calling her out? Where do we draw the line with what is supposed to be a responsible behavior by people investigating for things like bones, and how that person interprets the evidence and then twists it to match their bias? Nonsense.
And the crazy part is that her boss is...
Haven't we heard?
Just 1 sec. Go ahead, Paul.
Haven't we heard, though, through this whole discussion that science is you're always trying to disprove your theory? So, like, if you have this theory of evolution, so you ultimately should be trying to disprove it. So here's something by its own from its own experimentation seems to be disproving evolution. So they should be accepting it and clapping their hands and look, we've just disproved evolution. Haven't we heard that before?
No, that's just their
science disproves.
No, that's their argument against actual science when they're confronted with the fact that they're actually using pseudoscience. They say science doesn't prove anything; it only disproves things. So that's got several layers that I've now got to cover. So no, the reason you would say you disprove things in science is a misapprehension about what science actually achieves. It's empirical because it proves things with its null and alternative structure. That would be to say that in the hypothesis you've got one thing that is validatable only and the other that must be invalidated upon experimentation. So you have if A, then B, and if A, not B. Those two things being mutually exclusive. You can't have both at the end of the test. One or other only. Therefore, one or other only will be proven at the end of an experiment. That would be a test, a scientific test. Now, they hijack science and use pseudoscience with scientific vernacular to give you the impression that they've got empirical validity. And when you call them on it, they say science doesn't prove anything. Complete lie, complete misapprehension. And in their defense of their pseudoscience, which you're then utilizing against them, they should be what? Disproving it and therefore embracing it? No. They're in a cult with a religious belief and they only seek validation and confirmation bias, while they tell us that science doesn't prove things and that it only seeks to disprove things. Well, no, they choose affirmation of their original belief, in this case, evolution.
Well, and really what I'm trying to, I guess, the point I'm trying to make, though, this is exposing their own doublethink. In one sense, it's supposed to disprove things, but really it's trying to prove things. So you find something that disproves it, that's proving something else, like that actually, I can't even think of it now, but the non-fossilized flesh shows and disproves the age of the fossil. It disproves it has to.
That's not how they treat it, though, is it, Paul? It's not how they approach it. They look at it and go, oh my goodness, there must be some amazing mystical mechanism that preserves soft tissue for 65 million years. Just like, oh dear, Einstein's gravity doesn't work, there must be a thing called dark matter to fill the gap. They find an excuse to maintain the paradigm, not as you're saying, apply logic and even their own weak version of pseudoscience. They reject that as well.
Because they've already got the story well in place, right? So coming up to an impossibility in your story, well, no, we can't have that. This is why this poor lady was scared to show her boss, who's this big paleontologist, who Alan Grant from Jurassic Park is based on. Come on, and you're scared to tell him, and then you tell him, and then you guys get attacked by your fellow scientists. Come on.
Quick shout out.
Well, think about it too.
Sorry, just one second. Shout out to Slow Mo Moon, who sends me what can only be described as a flashing Tweety Pie. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat.
The police know he didn't do it, and then the police basically get evidence that proves he didn't do it, but they've got that much vested in this case that they're going to find a way to shoehorn it onto this guy anyway. That's why miscarriages of justice happen, because people get accused and convicted of murder that they didn't do because they find evidence that doesn't match the story, and they push it through anyway and say some stupidly remote argument is plausible, and then because it gets presented in such a way, the jury can be duped by it. That's why miscarriages of justice happen.
But there's also another implication. You're right on that sense. They're so invested in their theory, but there's another piece of it that never gets talked about either. If you determine that the Earth is not 65 billion years old, whatever they say it is, and it actually could be young, what's the implication to that? Could that give credence to a certain position that certain group holds, and that would give credence to that? So they can accept it. And I'm not going to say what that is, because I think you guys can guess what I mean by that. Especially people that believe the Earth is young and not old.
Go on, Anthony. Did you want to respond to that?
Of course, that is exactly what it implies. It implies that we are young. We are not infinitely old, like the way they tell us. I mean, even if we were infinitely old, they don't have the right duration of time anyway. Because if you do any research on the pyramids, you can tell that they're not 4,000 or 5,000 years old the way we get told. They're clearly older than that because the evidence supports it. But it doesn't support the paradigm that humans have only been on this planet for about 10,000 years maximum. Most people think that we were on this planet for about 8 to 10,000 years. But then you find the pyramids are clearly older. You find evidence like Göbekli Tepe that's clearly older. It's 12,000 years old. And that tells you that we must have been here longer than what the claim of before Christ is, that we were here 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years before Christ.
How do you know?
How do you know it was we? How do you know it was humans? You could say the realm existed,
one at a time,
and there were buildings.
One at a time.
You've just
questioned him. Just let Anthony answer.
Well, the claim is that we're supposed to have lived on the Earth for around about. It depends on who you ask. Between 4,000 and 8,000 years. Some people accept maybe 10, but no one accepts that we go back further than that because dinosaurs and all that lived before us. But the reality is there are artifacts that are man-made that go back 12,000 years, and the pyramids are way further.
That's
So
what
it's
I
like-
question, Anthony.
What?
Anthony, what
How
I
do you know
question there is you've looked at ancient archaeology in terms of dinosaurs, and you've shown that the dating mechanisms are bunk. Why are you putting any faith in the ones that 8 to 10,000?
Exactly.
Where's actually the validation there? You can.
Hold on, let him answer.
I'm looking something
hold on,
last
hold
night
on.
that's
Hello,
suggesting.
Adam. Hold on. You can't just throw it out there and not let him answer. He might have an answer.
No, that
Well,
was summarising the point. I think.
I'm not aging like the pyramids based on the aging of fossils or rocks. I'm not doing it with that method. I'm looking at other ways to validate the claim that maybe the pyramids are significantly older. Just look into the Sphinx and how they age the Sphinx, and look how geology ages the Sphinx with
don't do
regards
that.
to its
Just tell us.
measuring devices.
No.
compared to
Stop.
other people.
Hello, stop. Hold on. Don't tell us to look into how they dated the Sphinx. Just tell us.
Well, the pyramids are believed to be at least 40,000 years, not 6.
Stop. Stop. Don't start. Stop. Hello. Don't start by telling us what is believed. How did they date it? Do you know?
Yeah, I do know, yeah. So if you look at the Sphinx has got a different face on it now. Most people accept that it's got a different face on it now to what it had originally because it's disproportionately small and it's been recarved or re-chiseled or re-whatevered. And the argument then is, well, how old is it? So what the claim is that the Sphinx was lined up with, like this, the claim of the pyramids is lined up to Orion's belt. The Sphinx is supposed to be lined up to Leo, but Leo, the constellation Leo, because it looks like a lion, is supposed to timestamp where the pyramids were, when the pyramids were made. So if that's true, then it makes sense that it couldn't have been the last great year of 24,000 years because that was an ice age. So they couldn't have made it then. So it's either of our realm now or...
What the hell are you talking about?
Hold on, Anthony.
How is this
Hold on. Hello. Can you detect the slight outrage from the rest of your panelists in this regard?
Yeah.
Can you detect that?
Yeah. But we have the object, right? It exists. And the query is, who made it and how old is it?
Yeah, you're not answering the question. Let me answer the question. How did they date it? By sizing up how much natural deterioration happened, like the wind scrubbed it out. Yes, that's the dating method, the only one they applied to it.
No,
yes.
it's not the only one they've applied to it.
Yes, it is.
Well, let him tell us.
You've heard the claim that Thuban used to be our... You heard the claim that Thuban used to be the North Star, right? 24,000 years ago, it wasn't Polaris, it was a star called Thuban. Well, 24,000 years before Thuban, it was some other star. And if that was the position 40,000 years ago, then it means that there was a different astrological sky in the night sky according to astronomy. And because
that's
astronomy
a really
claims...
nice presupposition, but that's not how they date it. That's how they might model it based on astronomy.
Yeah,
not dating.
The problem
dating
is,
they do with the material.
Anthony, you're gonna have to let other people get. You're gonna have to let other people get through their objections, which I totally agree with. Go ahead, Darwin.
As Adam says, that geology for
Anthony, we've heard about the location based on the stars 40,000 years ago. We heard it twice. Go ahead, Darwin.
I just wanted to say, look, I get it. You know, I've been there. I was very interested in that. But the actual dating method, you know, is very narrow. There's only so many things you can do. And what they used on the Sphinx and to suggest it's older than the pyramids is looking about the amount of deterioration by natural causes due to weather over the ages. Okay, how much wearing down it happened.
Okay.
And the Sphinx...
Okay, thank you. Hello. We heard that twice. Thank you. Okay, Adam, did you want to add something?
The only thing I'd say with regards to the Sphinx is what they are suggesting is that the Sphinx, whilst previously suggested being older, is actually newer than the pyramids. There's 1,000,001 ways of looking at basically the rock bed that everything's built on, the pyramids and that is sacred as well. And when you look at the base constructions, so that you can build 1,000,001 theories into how you date these things which are undateable. but all of them seem to have to fit some kind of pre-existing paradigm. So they'll crowbar it in whatever way, whether that's biblical or kind of evolutionary way, but none of it's validated with anything scientific. It's all correlation, even down to carbon dating, which is bunkum. You know, there's nothing real other than the paradigm you want to put it in. And listening to what Tony is saying in terms of stuff, listen to how current people try and place things on the plateau and how they have to fit a crowbar it in by getting a different North Star. Yeah. Where's the evidence for that? It's all crowbarring into some pre-existing paradigm that I don't.
You're right. Let me respond to that.
Keyword is undateable. He said undateable.
Just let him respond.
Let me respond to that. So
Anthony.
originally, Adam's question is, why do you accept geology for the aging of rocks when it's not reliable? And I agree. So the question then is, well, if you accept that as unreliable, which I do, if you accept that, then you've got to look at what is the alternative way to try and date this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the simple fact is, the main material that those monuments are made out of is sandstone. It's one of the most erosion-prone things that you can make anything out of. And it's not something that you would make a long-standing artifact that would stand through antiquity, because it's not, you'd make it out of bronze or something similar. But sandstone is very weather bad. It's bad for weathering, right? So when Arwin was saying, well, if the only way to date this is through erosion, well, that's totally not reliable, because you wouldn't date anything that's made out of sandstone using weathering techniques, because it's so susceptible to the weather damage. And the weather damage is on.
Then you'd have to know, Tony, wouldn't you? You'd have to. Just let me deal with this. You'd have to then know what date the cover stones, the limestone cover stones, are taken off to pre-calculate the rate of supposed erosion you're looking at based on the way you don't know how the erosion works. Yeah, it's bunkum. It's undateable by the methods we're doing. Yeah.
So let me finish. So when Arwin suggested that erosion was the way they date it, well, when you look into the sandstone that they're made of, they're not actually sandstone. They're a composite. They were made, right? These sandstones weren't chipped out with little flint rocks the way we're told. They were poured like concrete. So whatever it is that they're made of, it's going way against the erosion rules that relate to sandstone. So they've got to be something else. So it's a sandstone derivative, but it's not normal sandstone. So then the question is, so it predates the ability for sandstone to erode naturally, because it's still there and it's still sharp edged, right? So there's something else going on. So
or it just is less susceptible to erosion, and then it lasts longer. You can test this.
If somebody's rumpling both of you, go ahead, whoever.
So it has been tested.
Hold on. Conversation becomes unlistenable when someone clearly wants to get a word in. We'll just mutter through the top of you. Who is it that's trying to get a word in?
It's Paul. There's another problem with erosion, because you could have a natural disaster of some kind that could maybe give you the appearance of erosion, maybe water damage of some kind, or maybe a flood of some kind that may give it appearance of massive amounts of erosion, which may have happened over a shorter period of time. So you can't even use erosion as your standard for determining the age of something. You can't.
Well, if one thing happens to subject that thing, it's going to subject everything. So it's just going to be put on a scale with that as an option, and then it becomes stretchable as how much time roughly passes. So yeah, an exact time, never going to happen.
Okay,
but you can size it up as to just like how many things it went through.
So this isn't going to get us closer to it, and we can argue all day about how it doesn't prove it. That's wonderful. Let's just draw a line under it. We don't know the age, and as much as I can claim,
hang on,
if I get
hang on, there is more to it. There is more to it. So Arwin said that you investigate the sandstone, which is what has happened, and the Institute of Advanced Polymers in northern France investigated the composition of the so-called sandstone outer case stones of the pyramids and found that they were poured because they've got water in part, like inside it, so they've poured them like concrete. Now that is established fact as far as I can tell, because the Institute of Advanced Polymers.
It's not.
That's what they've confirmed. That's what their claim says. They say that it's poured like concrete.
Okay.
Now, whether that's true or not isn't my point. My point is that there is supporting evidence for that, which means that there's something else going on, because it's been made pre the ability of sandstone for it to last, because it's not very erosive protective, and it's stronger than concrete. So the question is how. So that's why I'm saying it's a lot older than what it appears, because if it was just sandstone, it wouldn't still exist with all the erosive desert weathers and all that, because it'd just die.
Couldn't that mean it's just new then?
Again, we've not got any closer to the actual dating of anything.
Well, that's the reason why I suggested. That's why I suggested the angle.
My bad, bro. Go ahead.
That was the reason why I suggested that the angle of it pointing to the constellation of Leo, but from 24,000 years ago twice, the Great Year, is the most, in my opinion, it's the most probable time quantification element that I've found, because nothing else matches. So it's like, of all the arguments that I've heard to date these things, that for me is the most persuasive.
Right,
does it mean it's true? No, it's just my
got
opinion.
a problem with that.
Hold on. I heard that was your first claim, because it's pointing in a certain direction, in alignment with a certain star at a certain time. You having me on?
I got a problem with
much
that.
more compelling argument for that, Tony, and it's the complete reverse. It's not positioned back in time. The position's to foretell something in the future. That's why you build something that magnificent. It's not to mark the past, but to give warning of the future.
Oh my God!
Specifically, the coming of Christ.
So within 25 seconds, Anthony, your interpretation of its orientation, for whatever reason, setting it in the past, has just been flipped completely on its head with the antithesis by Adam, which is saying, no, the alignment's pointing to a future alignment. So, well, who's right? This proves absolutely nothing.
That's the problem.
Well, also,
you
you have
base
to
your
know-
time-based
hold on, Erwin.
assumptions
Hold
on
on,
astronomy
Erwin.
only.
Go on, Paul.
I said you would have to know the intentions of the builders and what they were trying to do. If you're trying to look back without any record of saying, well, we built the pyramids for X and for to do X or Y. If you don't have that record, that's what it was intended for. Anything you do looking backwards is speculation. So even your own argument falls apart.
It does
unless
correlate.
You know the intentions of the
that
builder.
said, we have got very strong documentation for the architecture and foundation stones pointing to Casio Nomad 3 for Grayskull, and that alignment's been pretty heavily documented. So,
So
But
great.
didn't this argument all start with dinosaur bone dating? I don't even know how.
Yeah, I was going to bring it.
you were gonna hold on.
Back to that.
Go on, Chocolate. Go ahead. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I was going to bring it back to that was my point. I didn't want to go into the tangent of the pyramids and all that, but it does relate because we're talking about dating and how the mainstream science, once they find something that they try to date and doesn't match with their mainstream narrative, they panic and even attack their own. That was my whole point with Mary Schweitzer and her being all nervous because she found something that's not supposed to be possible in 1 million years, let alone 68 million years, her words. Right?
Well, yeah.
Right.
There you go.
I don't even understand how they're supposed to be dating things with fossilization anyway, because petrification happens really quickly, and what it effectively does is it replace. If I get this correctly, Adam, correct me if I don't. It basically replaces most of the molecules or every part of it with the chalk with mineral material. It completely mineralizes, so it doesn't transform, it replaces it by seeping it through, and then it becomes replaced. So how it could compartmentalize and one part would be dissolvable in acid and another would not is just inconceivable unless part of the bone was adamantine or something.
That was detailed by QE. It's a contradiction in terms, right? It's either fossilized, having gone through that process, or not fossilized, it's tissue. It's either a bone or a fossil.
Bone.
You know how they
Right.
fossils?
And
Bone.
and how would and even if it was partially fossilized, how would the soft tissue not fossilize while the rest of the non-soft, the hard tissue would? How does that work? I can't even imagine how that can work. I think the soft tissue is the first thing to fossilize because it's soft.
I'm more keen to focus on chocolate to say that, once this is exposed, you've then got to go to your boss and worry about how it doesn't match the paradigm. That's what you do if you're in a religion. That's not what you do if you're trying to further the understanding of what you've got to study. Then you've not got any concern. You just do your test and publish your results. That's it. Why would there be any concern? Well, because there's a whole narrative and paradigm that hangs on it being what they said it would be, and when it's not, that's a big problem. Well, problem for who? Well, for the people who believe in evolution, that's who. It's not a problem, it's just a problem for people with a religious belief.
Exactly.
You guys know how they
That's why when I
fossils?
heard her say how nervous she was to show her, I was like, wait, what? You're not supposed to be nervous. If anything, you should be excited to go show your boss, look what I discovered. This is not possible. This is crazy. Instead, you're scared. Why? Because you're going to get attacked by the rest of your mainstream narrative? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. She
That's
was
you guys
just
science, pseudoscience, man.
She was just as excited as the astronauts coming back from the moon landing, man.
Exactly.
Have you guys ever heard of how they date the fossil?
They date them. No, this is very accurate. They get it from the rock. So the rock has certain layers that they can identify the age of the rock from, and that's how they get the age of the fossils, because obviously they're found in the rocks. So that's how you do it.
How do they date the rock? How do they date the rock?
Well, no, that's also very simple, because obviously there's certain fossils in those rocks. So you know the age of the fossils, so you can obviously tell how old the rock is. Obviously. Didn't you know that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wasn't there like a false duality?
I think this
between
entire
everyone.
back and
Hold on,
forth
everyone.
between Paul and I should be interrupted by 3 people.
I was just going to
No,
say,
have you
Mary
heard-
Schweitzer.
Have you heard? Okay, go ahead, Tant. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Mary Schweitzer's boss is in denial because she proved it was a pyramid scheme.
Boom, boom.
But
Hey,
I
here's
think that
another-
fossil, if I
Hold on
may
a
input
second.
something quick,
No.
fossil dating is
No.
supposedly based
No.
on the layer the fossils were found in, and then the layers, then the age is supposed to be because the fossils were found in it. So it's like this weird feedback loop with fossils and the layers they were found in. It's a mess out there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the point Paul
Have
was
you ever
making
heard
by
of-
leading me with that question, but
That
do you
was
want to
exactly-
summarize it as well? Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, that was it. There's actually another thing that just debunks the fossil record is fossilized trees that were fossilized through the strata. I forget what they're called, but they're instead of fossilized like laying down, they're actually fossilized standing up, and they cut through all the strata, which means a tree would have to be, the whole tree would have to be fossilized all at once, which means that even their dating methods shows that that's an error. So you can't even use the strata as a means to date something, because if you get a tree cutting through the strata, it debunks the whole thing. How can you do it?
Well, how does fossilization work? It has to be covered up, prevented from the water, everything oxygenating, cut off. So it has to be buried. And those trees you're talking about, they were actually root up found everywhere. So
Well,
they
and
were
all
buried
fossils-
and
now,
then
Here, let me give you
fossilized.
something else. Well, and you think about this, all fossils, no matter what they are, have to be rapidly covered. For example, I remember when I was delivering freight, a dog died on the side of the road. I saw it. It was brand new, fresh kill. And over the course of, I don't know, a month, nobody cleaned up the dog, neither did I. So don't get on me about not cleaning up the dog. But I literally watched this dog over the course of a month or more go from, like a big dog all the way down to the ground of where it laid to almost it was virtually gone, except just the husk of the skin. So all fossils, a massive covering had to occur all at once for any kind of fossilization to occur. Well, there is something that people talk about that rapidly cover things over a short amount of time. And if 10th Man wants to jump in on this one, I'll let him get in since you wanted to talk. And everybody doesn't want to talk about it, but it's this massive thing called a flood that there's evidence all over the world about it. So just saying.
Right. And then much later, even potentially a mud flood, which is even more direct for that, right? Because it's covered by mud, not just water.
Now, if you'll turn to
Wait a
page
minute.
57 of your hymn book,
Hold
we'll
on a second.
sing, Who Built the Ark? Who built the Ark? Noah did.
Well, wait a minute, though.
Noah
Even mud
did.
flood. Let's talk about a mud flood for a second. When I see water rush like we was at the ocean, and we see the waves. We were last week. We were at the ocean, and we saw these waves come in and constantly lashing on the side of the shore. It brings a lot of sediment in, and then it kind of muddies the water, and then it settles down. So I guess you would say the things at the bottom of the water would be called mud.
Sediment.
Right. Water rushing is going to mix everything up. It's going to turn into a muddy soup. Then eventually it recedes, it settles, and it's like a giant swamp everywhere.
Called sediment. Sediment. Hello.
Right. Sediment.
So you're saying the mud flood that's claimed by people who have history hoax channels and talk about Tartaria is actually the sediment from an actual flood that's just settled on the bottom before the water's receded. That's what you're postulating. Mainly because that's the story and narrative in the Bible.
Me? No.
No,
I'm
not you.
saying there's...
Bloody hellfire.
Not you, me. But I mean, we have evidence of that thing happening. Like Mount St. Helens, when it erupted, it actually moved the whole lake, and it literally fossilized. The trees got knocked down and fell down, and sediment fell and buried these trees. Just like you were saying in the water.
Not sediment.
I'm just saying this is
no. Pyroclastic flows, not sediment.
I guess you didn't hear the part where I said that actually moved a lake. I know what you're saying about pyroclastic cloud, but this was actually where a lake was moved during Mount St. Helens.
Okay, no, I didn't catch that bit. No, sorry. My bad.
Yeah. That's okay. Continue.
So you're saying that the lake, when moved by the pyroclastic flows or by the eruption itself or whatever, or the eruption or the earthquake or whatever, the ground shaking, moved the water, and that exact effect happened that we're describing with sediment from a great flood. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, very simple. You could almost say it was a miniature flood, a miniature type of flood, because it fossilized trees, animals were fossilized. Everything underneath this lake was just like you would potentially predict
Gotcha.
in this lake.
Gotcha. So you're saying this effect is almost like flash freezing as opposed to a very long geological effect that they describe in fossilization. It could be something that happens very quickly.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. The fossilization for something to occur has to be rapidly covered. Has to be. Because if you let it, like a tree, if you see a tree fall in a forest, over time the tree decays. When you come back 20 or 2 years later, eventually the tree is going to be gone because it's going to be rotted away back into the ground. So if you're going to get it fossilized, it has to be covered with dirt very rapidly. It has to be very rapid.
Right. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat. I think someone else actually smashed the super chat. I'm doing this outro, so let's just have a quick read of that. So shout out to Roy Stimaz. Hopefully I've said your name correctly. Can you validate how fossils are made? There are fossils of things that make no sense with how we think they are created. Yeah, I think that was the closing discussion, Roy. So thank you very much indeed for your super chat. But yeah, I think we'll probably end up discussing that a bit further in the after show. So once again, stay tuned if you are watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Okay, Paul. So I've just picked up your image from. Is that the lake?
No. I just wanted to show you. This is a fossilized hat.
Well, I was way off.
I'm just showing you that here's a hat that's modern, that's been fossilized.
Jurassic hat?
Hat, yeah.
What's it?
Dude,
That's a hat.
They're what's called UPART, so they're called out-of-place artifacts. So you get things like fossilized hats, a fossilized or a bell found in fossilized material. One of the famous ones is a hammer. So the metal's still metal, but the wood shaft is fossilized in 65 million year old rock. Ooparts is what they're called.
In 65 million year old rock. Were there some fossils there then?
Did you also?
Was that next to the whale dog?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Undateable.
Go ahead, Darwin.
Have you ever seen the fossilized foot, like foot with a bone even sticking out inside of a shoe fossilized with it? Right? Clearly not older than 200 years. It was also found. So yeah, fossilization, petrification can happen really quickly under the right conditions.
Pretty common.
Very crazy quickly.
You can get one of your own at myfossilisedfoot.com. I was just looking it up.
Are they coming left and right?
Stories.
No, just the 1 foot.
They can get a pair.
Adam, what was the name of the out of place artifacts that you were just describing?
Well, that's what they're called. Out of place artifacts. They're called ooparts. Oh, look.
Say that again. That word.
Ooparts. I've got one here. ancientwisdom.com/ooparts. I'll show you the. Hey, it's got the hammer. Look. Can you see?
Coming up.
Why are they out of place?
Because they're not fitting the paradigm that they're supposed to be in. So there you go. Look, there's the.
Someone said it earlier. It's like seeing too far. It's the same sort of thing.
So these underground pipes. Yeah, there you go. There's the hammer.
I knew they were out of date, out of time stuff, but I didn't know they had a name.
Oh, Stephen Tessarian, I think, looks into these spheres, perfect spheres, and ancient technology all found in South Africa.
Yeah, I was trying to find one. There was stuff that was found in the coal layer. I was trying to find that. Like I think somebody found a bell in the coal layer. I was trying to find that one. I don't know if you've heard about that one.
Dorchester pot had been dynamited out of solid rock on Meeting Hill in Dorchester, Massachusetts. So that's that one there. It just lists all these.
There's another one.
A lot of the Smithsonian hides over the years. This one, yeah, this is in the Cambodian stuff. So there's a Stegosaurus engraved in.
There was also dinosaur footprints and human footprints found the Getty too. I don't know if you've heard about those. I'll try to find those. Give me a second. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, that's another story.
Well, yeah, there's loads of stuff. There's human footprints and dino footprints in the same bed.
Yeah, Richard Dawkins supposedly.
Are they reptiles or do they have feathers now?
John, you're really muffly today, brother. Sorry, Neil, but John, you're really muffly.
Sorry about that. I'm using a damn tablet.
Are you posting these to Skype, Adam? Because so far I've got the hat and the hammer.
Into Skype, I'll stick it into Master B, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's where the hat and the hammer went. So
yeah, got to see it.
Perfect.
And I'll pop it in the main chat as well here, so I don't get shouted at. Here you go, guys.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So what I got out of today is that we don't know what an eclipse is, and there is stuff that is undateable.
Pretty much.
But yet there's a mainstream that gives us answers for both.
So it's only undateable if you actually try to date it. You know what I'm saying? That's how that works in the new hotness mainstream science.
The presumption is that the dating you're trying to put it in, i.e. history, is correct as well.
Maybe they should
Adam,
try
can I ask you
Match.com.
about atomic half-life? They always try to make atomic half-life appear like it's this absolutely empirical fact in terms of the rate of decay of one atom into another. And they normally say thousands and tens of thousands of years for that to occur. Do you know anything about that in terms of its accuracy or its validity?
I don't think there's been a longitudinal study that's validated it.
Oh, darn.
Well, doesn't it make sense? Just
surprise.
Doesn't it make sense just from the onset that when Mary Schweitzer comes up with a find that disturbs the long-held model, she gets attacked?
My favorite part of the whole thing, man, was to hear her say that I was nervous to show my boss. And then for Leslie Stahl to say, oh, they were attacked after presenting this. Really? You're attacked for presenting new information? I thought this was supposed to be science.
No, pseudoscience.
Yeah, that's what that sounds like. You sound like you're defending a religion. When you get upset, why you got feelings? Thought this was objective. It reminds me of Wakey Wakey and that lady, that exoplanet astrophysicist who got all in her feelings because she found out that her model doesn't work, while saying it numerous times that the model is broken, doesn't work, get a new model. Not knowing she was talking to a flat earther.
Well,
and
if I would have
getting
known
all
you were,
upset at the end of that.
I would have known you were a flat earther, I would not have been sharing this with you.
Exactly. Sounds a little suspect to me. Poor Globies.
He did come in deception. He did come in a little deceptive.
I'm laughing at.
Hello, truth be told. Go ahead.
Sorry, man. I'm just laughing at what Chocolate said earlier. It's only undateable. It's only undateable when you try to date it. It's like curve date collapse, or what did Owen call that? Curve function collapse.
Curve function collapse.
Oh, don't start him up.
So, dating collapse. Possible dating collapse.
Date function collapse.
Yeah, it is just kind of ridiculous. And to think, like, the guy getting attacked and this lady, like, he's like a big dog in this department, right? This paleontology department, supposedly pseudoscience crap. The big dog in dinosaurs, and his department finds something that's no against the model, and all of a sudden problems. Where is Mary Schweitzer? Is she all right? Maybe we should check on her.
I wonder if she was more scared of that boss or the owner of the gift shop.
Right.
Isn't it fun?
I say that a bit flippantly, but genuinely, you think of, and I'm making an excuse for it, that it would be quite daunting because you're actually going to you realise you're about to bring everything down. You know what I mean? Even Dickie Attenborough is going to be after you.
Exactly.
You're destroying the narrative. That's why it's got such a good analogy to us.
But with destroying one analogy, aren't you bringing alive another one with new information that you've just discovered? Like, shouldn't that be the goal, to actually discover something new, to actually incorporate that into what you already know? Don't these clowns always tell us, oh, we stand on the shoulders of giants, blah, 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 right? Except when it's a different story than what the giants told you. Now you got to change it up. You sound like clowns.
The problem, Chocolate, is that this one came from the inside. See, they always had to deal with people on the outside saying, hey, that's not science, that's pseudoscience. And then you guys are a bunch of this and that. Now it's one of their own. Now it's one of their own. Now it's one of their own.
Sounds like they're eating their own. Yep. Ban him. Off with their head. So sad. And that's your own guy. That's your own story, guys. I thought you had a coherent story over here.
Chocolate, you can't say it like that. You've got to say it like the Queen. Off with his head.
Well, I'll leave that to you guys because I can't do it.
Were you trying to add something? Is it Incos? I can't read your name very well. Ends in WEI? Or are you just hot micing, my friend?
You're really loud.
Yeah, you're really loud.
You actually are extra loud today. I don't know why.
Who is? Me?
No.
I don't know why.
Tony.
Yeah.
I see why. Harry, fixed.
Yeah, thanks for that. For the entire live show, me having to fiddle with the fader.
Oh, come on, I hardly said a word. Anyway.
Well, this history thing came up at my dinner table last night, and I was trying to explain to my son, okay, let's look at history, because 50 years from now, people are going to read that 9/11 happened by 19 hijackers overtaking planes and smashing them into buildings. Is that true?
Did you ask your son that, or are you asking us? What?
No, I asked my son that. I said,
Why do you have to wait 50 years? It's happening now.
That's what I'm saying. And it's even happening right now. But 50 years from now, they're going to read it just like that, because that's the history that they're writing. So how do we even know anything about history?
We don't. That's the problem. That's the scary truth that you have to face when you come to this subject. That's why when some people poo-poo it and just go, what's the difference? Well, the difference is your level of contemplation of the deception that you've had foisted upon you, and then you have to suddenly reassess these things. I keep referring to it, but this was detailed by Conspiracy Cat's 2 Haunted House. You have to suddenly assess whether or not it's all lies. Can somebody stick that into whatever he's called on mute? Thank you. So you have to assess whether or not everything else is a lie, and there's a high probability it is.
And that's scary for people.
Yeah.
John wrote something in chat. He's got a crappy tablet today. And it's aimed a question at Anthony, I think. Can you see it, Anthony?
In which chat?
Master B.
No. Can you read it?
Yeah. 6:12 a.m. on my watch here. I have never heard on Nathan's show someone claim evidence so much without any understanding of what the evidence is as I did today. I am dumbfounded, and having a crappy tablet, none of my objections got through. Anthony, the claim that Egyptians poured sandstone with no presented evidence is shameful. Positive claim the sandstone was poured supporting evidence somebody said so.
They did present evidence for that. They poured
I'll get the evidence.
Evidence.
I'll get the yeah. It was right. I'll get it.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to just agree with John. I thought it was shameful too, and I did say that to Anthony. I was like, "This is garbage. No, I'm not having any of this." But there we go.
It doesn't have a great validity, but there is evidence there by lots of the places looking at the geopolymer stuff. There's even biblical. There's a biblical recipe, for want of a better word, and it talks about how some of the things are cracked through bad making and stuff, and there's recipes for making it in ancient Egyptian stuff. So there's lots of anecdotal stuff that supports this. And what's the alternative? What you're weighing up is maybe they didn't use loads of Jews to carry it up a plinth and stick big rocks there. So the alternative, they're just looking. I don't think it presents another definitive construction method, but there is evidence there that it isn't just made by, like I say, a slave labor force, that there was a bit more technology there. Does it prove to be a polymer? But no, but it does match with modern stuff, some of the microscopic looks of it.
That's what I was just going to say. I don't see what's so hard about that. They pour stuff today. Why couldn't they have
I believe the pouring of concrete before I believe freaking slave labor pulling ton rocks with ropes. Get the hell out of here. That crap.
I've posted, Tony, a good video from Charles Koss. He does loads of stuff on this. So he's looking at it from a different place in which with ain't kind of, if you follow some of the alternative Egyptian stuff, it makes a lot of sense. And he's saying it's more Germanic in structure. And that's why there's 9 pyramids, the 3 big ones to represent what was talking about Asgard, Midgard, and how I keep forgetting that one. But then the 3 others that match as the spiritual realms of heaven and hell. So there's just as many good theories now that this is actually built with regards to Norse mythology, and that Egyptian mythology follows it. It's a really cool video to watch. I've linked it for you, mate.
But Adam, what we're really looking for is some concrete evidence.
What about that guy? I seen him that he moves stuff by himself, big gigantic rocks. I see it was on the telly. I seen him.
That's the
must be true.
Well, he's a guy in America, didn't he? He built a massive
Coral Castle.
I forget what it's called. Lunar Park, not Lunar Park. It's
Coral
Lunar
Castle.
Castle or something.
Yes,
hold on, guys. Can you not hear Lunar Solar? Flat Earth Solar is trying to get in with the answer. Go ahead, Flat Earth Solar.
No, we didn't hear him.
I just said it was Coral Castle.
Coral Castle. Brilliant.
Yes, correct.
Built by Ed Leeds Skolin.
And how did he do it?
They don't know. There's magnetic links as well, isn't there? There's supposedly levitation claims and stuff, but there's also YouTube videos of men using wooden rollers and levers to move similar weights modern day. So I don't think the fact that there's rocks there proves he could levitate them. There's no evidence of that. There's just the rocks there. Isn't there?
All right, Nathan, do you want to present my screen?
Sure.
All right, so this is the...
Hold on, who's going to interrupt him indefinitely? Whoever that is.
I was just going to say, if they're pouring this stuff, how did they get whatever they're pouring it with that high anyway?
Well, they created cast like a coffin, and you pour it into the coffin, so like shuttering. And like you just create a shuttering, pour it in, give it a couple of minutes, it'll start to set, lift it out, leave a gap, put it down again, pour it in, lift it out, and they were laying them like bricks, but pouring them rather than lifting them. Right, so this is the Geopolymer Institute in northern France. There's numerous articles on this webpage relative to the article in question, or the point in question, which is whether or not they were poured. And if you go to YouTube, you can see a conference that was recorded in 2008, where there is a representative called Professor Joseph Davidovitz. It's 1 hour, 20 minutes long, but he basically shows that when they've done analysis on the substances in question, there's fibrous tissue inside, or not tissue, fibrous. I'll say hemp. It's not quite hemp, it's synthetic. But basically the point that this guy shows is that the rocks that the pyramids are made of, they're not naturally formed, they're man-made in some way. But one of the key points that he makes is that they don't even know what these things are. When they've done the analysis on them, they can interpret what they're looking at, and it's a bit like spectroscopy, but they don't know what this is. So what it is essentially is they're making a composite material like concrete, but it isn't concrete, but it acts like concrete, but it's not stuff that they're familiar with. And whatever it's made of, it's resistant to erosion in the form of weathering far more than anything that we can make today. So the claim that John's brought up, that unsupported or unsubstantiated claims, is actually a reflection of ignorance. Now that you're aware that there is an issue to do with the timing and the composition of the rocks, the case stones, Now you can go away and research it. And I've got you the link here. If you watch this to start with and look at this website, the geopolymer.org/pyramids, you can see that there is evidence that is not of this world. And I say of this world to indicate that it is of a previous civilization with different building techniques than what we're familiar with. And we can't recreate it. They don't know what it is, but they do know it was poured. So there's the evidence.
What about fallen angels? Maybe they have something to do with it.
Thank you, Anthony.
Am I still here?
Yeah, you are still here. Just Neil just killed the
Oh, I
conversation.
thought it was a rhetorical question. I don't believe there's such thing as fallen angels.
What do you mean? It says it in the book of Enoch.
Yeah. I don't know what a fallen angel is. I know the description, but I'm not familiar with that. I thought it was a rhetorical. I'm sorry. It could be, but it could be unicorns too.
Just like what you said could be unicorns.
All I can tell you is that they're made of some kind of concrete. They've got water in them. They've got fibrous strands in them that are not of this world. And if they are, it's a crop that we can't grow at the minute. So the seeds we haven't been able to recreate the seeds or whatever. Whatever's in them, it's not normal. So I don't know what that means. I just know that this is where the evidence is for the rocks being poured.
The aliens. It's the aliens.
So you can get back to John and say, there you go, he's given the evidence.
Oh yeah, I'll get right on that.
No, he'll see it. It's fair. He posted it and Anthony answered it, so that was good.
But the pouring of the
Nathan,
concrete.
you get on that.
Hold on. Go ahead, Flat Earth Sider.
Sorry, just on the Devil's Causeway, it's been proven that they used a type of concrete mix that was able to set underwater. So there's various concrete mixes that have been used, quote unquote, by the Romans in their aqueducts and bridge building and various things where they've had to use different composites based on what they're actually encountering at the site. And the Devil's Causeway, that specific concrete, scientists have apparently spent 20 years trying to figure out how to create a concrete that can set so hard while underwater, because normally you mix cement with water to create concrete. So putting more water should dilute it then and actually destroy the integrity of that type of medium. So I think the whole casting thing actually has a lot of legs.
Okay, thank you.
Before we go on to fallen angels.
Oh, I hoped we were moving away from that.
What are those?
Where did they get the knowledge to do it, though? My thing is that maybe they got the knowledge through these fallen angels.
That's the key question, isn't it? Where did they get the knowledge? We
can
can't
you
even
validate
recreate
that?
these sandstones.
No, I can't. I'm just saying what I read in the book of Enoch.
Just before you jump on the fallen angels, I've just posted another link, which is the one which goes back to the ancient Egyptian recipe. So it kind of covers, it's ages since I've seen it, but it kind of covers the description of the two statues that they are made, and the inscription says it was like making it like bread. But it covers how ancient Egyptians did use pouring techniques of geopolymer.
No, when I say fallen angels, I mean the knowledge.
Sorry.
When I say fallen angels, I mean maybe they gave them the knowledge and how to do all these things.
Well, this does appear to be presented as a recipe and a technique, is the thing that the text kind of covers, as I remember.
Yeah, recipe and a technique. Yeah. Who'd they get it from?
I mean, there's an assumption that
in boat building, if I may, in boat building, there's boats made out of fiberglass, steel, aluminum, wood, etc. Then there's this thing called ferro cement, Ferro cement. And one of the advantages of ferro cement is that if you're in the ocean and you hit something, like say a piece of lumber, and you can take what you have on board, like a patch kit of it, and go underwater and fix it, and it'll work. So it's a pretty unique product.
And also about the concrete and water. I used to work with a guy that used to pour concrete and make footers for bridges. And there's a lot of times we would still pour concrete into water. All we had to do is try to stop the moving of the water, and the concrete was set even in the water. So we can do that today. And the other thing, if it was, and I'm not disagreeing necessarily with fallen angels, but at the same time, there's an assumption that man was not smart enough back in those days to figure it out themselves. But that means we say we're smarter than they were. That's ultimately what that means. And how do you know that's to be true or not? Could they be smarter in a different way than we are today?
Solomon, when he's building the temple, all this knowledge he takes from the demons, doesn't he? He tells them and makes them share his knowledge for the building of the first temple of Solomon.
That may be the case. That may be the case, and I'm not denying that could be possible. But my point is, could Solomon or his architects, they themselves figure this out without demonic, without supernatural intervention? That's ultimately what I'm saying, is because we have this assumption. That's what I'm after. This assumption that because we're in modern society, we were smarter than they were. There's an assumption in that. Right. And I'm trying to get away. I think that's not necessarily true.
Gotcha. You're trying to relate it back to the Votard argument, which would be to say that we've got more smart as time has progressed. Whereas you're saying, well, there's nothing to indicate that the people back then, if there was a previous civilization that we're detailing in this instance, why wouldn't they be as smart as us? Well, they would be, as far as I'm concerned, Paul. I agree with you.
Doesn't the Antikythera find prove something?
I think they were smarter.
Exactly.
The Bible says there's
You
nothing
think
new
we're
under
getting
the
dumber?
sun.
Doesn't the Antikythera find prove something with the brass and the gears and everything? Adam, you
it proves that in ancient Greek times they knew about the Metonic cycle, and to know about that in a date when we are told, or we believe, that the ancient Greeks were maybe stargazers, but not necessarily credited with much more than the basics, like, Galileo spotted a boat going over the horizon. The ancient Greeks were not only stargazing, but they'd worked this stuff out, or they were passed down knowledge.
Have they? And you base this on your history of the Greeks. So we've discussed how history isn't really that credible when you find the Swiss cheese holes in it that we are discussing, but yet you're just going to accept that the Greek history is all legit. How did the Antikytherian mechanism get validated in terms of its date, Anthony?
How did the Antikythera mechanism get validated in terms of what?
They date it.
They don't know when it was made. They know when it was found, but they don't know when it was made. Because it was made of bronze, and bronze can indefinitely exist if you look after it in terms of don't put it in salt water.
Oh,
but they found it in salt water.
I see. So we don't know.
Yeah, but the point is it exists though. So it's like, how did it get there? Who made it? And what knowledge did they have to make it in the first place? If they know that it was about 2,000 years before Christ, around about the so-called era where Eratosthenes is said to have existed, whatever the mechanism is, it is old. And they knew about the Metonic cycle, which is more credit than we generally give them.
Let me get this. Hold on. Pretty certain that's one step away from a denying the antecedent argument.
It exists though, so what's the explanation for it? And I don't know the explanation, but I know that it was made of bronze, so that gives you an indefinite start date. You don't know when it was made, but they found it a couple of 100 years before Christ, allegedly. So it's like, we don't know when it was made, but we do know when they found it, and we know that it is at least 2,000 years old.
How do we know it's nearly 2,000 years old? I'm not going to let you answer that, because we're just going to get the same answer. So with that, I am going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
a lovely day!